This show is definitely not Born Supremacy or James Bond or what other spy movies do we have? What other spy like big spy content do we have? So we have Born, James Bond, and something else. This show is not that. It's also not what's the Captain Winter Soldier? It's not that, right? It's
Its
something
tone
else.
is like trying to get a little bit towards that, I guess. It's just
Yes,
trying to.
it's trying. It's
Yeah.
something. But to me, it feels something totally different. Reason I feel that way is because Winter Soldier, I'm going to say, had the benefit of being maybe the first or just in that space. It was on its own. We've gone through a lot of Marvel properties to get to this point, and the Marvel tone has kind of been all over the place. Not in a bad way. It's just been,
Yeah.
with Guardians and Thor and everything else, and then here we are. So it's a kind of a departure away from Winter Soldier, which is trying to mirror. But I still feel it's something else. I will say this though. Pre-show, the one thing I said before we got into the show was I had fun with this episode.
Mhm.
Um, I will also say that it's not. Again, the reason I started with the build of the show is it's not like it's a slow burn, and we've all watched slow burn TV. We've all watched slow burn movies, and we've all appreciated them. I mean, we saw Seven, we saw what's the one with the web?
The Batman.
We we saw the Batman, which is 3 hours in the movie theater, and I'm pretty sure the Penguin series is not going to look
Oh,
like
it's gonna
Gotham.
be like the Sopranos is the ultimate like slow burn.
Exactly. See, it's not
Like
gonna look like Gotham. So we can. I think people. I think coming from the first episode, which was just like we should have got 2 episodes first.
I definitely agree. Like I
We
think
should
if
have
it,
got 2 episodes first.
yeah, this is definitely better than the first episode.
Way better. Way better.
Uh, yeah, it feels like the first episode like kind of had to do a lot and feels like it
Hmm.
like kind of like did. I think I said this in the last episode. It felt like it like did a lot and nothing at the same time.
Correct. Correct.
And this episode just felt like, I mean, what I thought, maybe just because I'm like rewatching it before the final season comes out,
Hmm.
is it feels like the Amazon Jack Ryan show, which is like
Mm.
which is like
The first
slow.
season, the first season of the Jack Ryan show, I thought, man, we might, like the first couple episodes, the first three. I'm like, we may not get another season. This might be it, but it's gotten it's hit its stride in the middle. I mean, again, Amazon does the thing where they give us 3 episodes, right? So it's hit
Yeah,
its
which is smart.
stride by
Very
yes,
smart. Except for
yes.
Bosch. They don't give you 3 episodes of that because they
Nah,
know
Bosch
fuckers
is
like
too
me
good,
will watch it.
right?
We'll watch all of it. But yeah, I think it's like
Has the one on Freevee come out yet?
the second season has not. No,
Oh,
comes out
man.
in the fall. And so it usually comes out in the summer. It
Right,
comes out in
it's
the
a summer
fall
show,
this year.
right? Yeah,
Like
I'm guessing because
all
now it's
yeah.
free.
I think it got delayed by like COVID stuff or whatever.
COVID, right?
Yeah. But anyway, for me, it just actually did really remind me of Jack Ryan because it like kind of
Mhm.
had the same like pace where it's like small little mysteries,
Correct.
like a lot of like wheel spinning and then an action scene and then some
Right.
more wheel spinning that like kind of makes you feel like a mystery. And that
Mhm.
tone worked for me in the second season or second episode in a way it didn't in the first.
Right,
Like
right.
I think the
Because
first ended strong if you could accept Maria Hill dying, but I think like everything leading up to it was
okay,
not.
so I gotta say something about that bullshit. I'm just gonna call bullshit right now, and I didn't rewatch the episode. I didn't see the scene again. I don't know if it's red blood, but isn't it too convenient that what's his name shot her?
Oh, Gavik or
Yeah,
Gravik, whatever you say his
Gravik.
name.
Wasn't it way too convenient that he shot her?
I mean, maybe like I'm not gonna accept that anyone in this because it's about scrolls. I will not
Right,
accept that anyone is not a scroll and
right.
is dead until like it is confirmed in the show,
Mhm.
like 100%. Like Maria is never mentioned again. I'm like, all right, she's dead. But like her coming back as a scroll or hell, Amelia Clark deciding that she's gonna be Kobe Smulders going forward. Like, there's all kinds of shit that
So
like they
much
could
shit.
do that they
Right.
could do. Like I'm gonna like leave it till the end, I
Okay,
guess.
I
Um,
think so, but I'm just calling it out right today, right now. It's bullshit. I was watching the episode, and I think one of the reasons that I called it was that council meeting scene, which I thought was amazing.
There's
I
a
think
piece.
one of the strongest scenes of the episode itself. Not necessarily because of what happened in during the scene, or like the whole like power struggle, or I'm not like not because of that. It was just interesting to see, just like when we saw it first in Captain America, when a soldier is here. It's a little different here, but it was here. It's the same thing, right? They've infiltrated literally every major well, they're NATO, they're in the UK. I don't remember.
India question mark? Like I don't remember what
Yeah,
the South Asian woman is supposed to
yeah,
be from.
it was a bunch of pretty much, let's just call it the G7, right? They're in the
Yeah,
G7
powerful nations.
yes,
Notice
plus
no
NATO.
one represented the United States though, so they're
None.
playing that close to the
So
chest.
yes, they're either playing it close to the chest, or okay, this is my theory on that one, right? I know, the thing is, we've learned from WandaVision. We learned really early with the Marvel shows, not to have any theories, right? Because God, WandaVision played with us so much, played in our faces, right? But I kind of have a theory. I don't think there was something we had said, or we had postulated, like Rhodey could be a Skrull, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think
the conversation
I think
between
the
them.
Super Skrull will be the American Skrull.
I think Gravik becomes the Super Skrull. Like I think
Or maybe
that's
that
what
kid.
like.
Why not the kid? Oh my God, my head.
The kid who.
What if he's Nick? No, right?
Well, I think Gravik is Nick Fury's kid. Like,
well, quote unquote, right?
But yeah. Also, like his
kid,
wife is the person who introduced him to Gravik,
right?
Like,
but that kid could be Nick Fury's actual kid, the new kid.
He could be. That would be a cool twist,
right?
Particularly if he dies, like if he I mean, there is that whole like, why would you pretend to be black, which is mentioned in the first episode, and then there's the whole conversation between Sam Jackson and Rhodey.
Oh yeah,
in this episode about being powerful black men in the MCU.
I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen any discourse on the show because again, I was trying to make sure I don't see anything if I watch it. I'm just ready to go look on the dark sides of the internet to see if they're going to talk about how woke this show is, because the show is woke. Let me see that conversation with Rhodey and Nick, and then the thing about the train where they didn't even let us on the dinner cars. We had to bring fried chicken. Oh my God, how fucking!
And then also the whole speech about how humans are destroying themselves.
Right. Go woke, go broke, Marvel. Go woke. Go
hey, well,
broke.
Apparently this is the lowest rated show from some streaming app. Like when people start talking about these like random streaming apps, like I get it, like Samba TV or whatever services, something like.
These are the same people that told us. These are the same people that told us Zack Snyder's Justice League was viewed by 500 million people across the globe. Get the fuck out of my face line like that. You're gonna tell me
not that many people have a Max subscription or whatever it's
right
now. Like,
and at the time it wasn't, because again it was around the globe. So at the time it was HBO Max, and then HBO Max at the time wasn't even global, so you had to watch it on I think Netflix or Amazon Prime, something. Some other person was carrying it, so you're lying. You are absolutely fucking lying. Anyway,
I just don't like. That's what the thing is, when people start like talking about streamer numbers that aren't explicitly said by the streaming company themselves, which of course they do lie, but they frequently like want to type up like The Witcher was the most watched show and blah blah blah. Like that's some metric that they pulled out of their SEO butt. But like the reason why the writers are on strike is that streamers lie, and it's really hard to tell what the numbers are. So if someone on the internet's like, only 17 people watched Miss Marvel, making it a failure. Like, it's like, maybe, but we also don't know, like, what metric Disney uses for success about these sort of things.
Right. I think the only one that kind of is fairly public is Netflix. I think probably because they've been doing it longer and they're solely streaming, right? Disney isn't solely streaming. You have movies as well. So you can hide streaming numbers if you tell everybody that Guardians of the Galaxy made $800 million. Even HBO or Max, you can hide streaming numbers if you tell everybody in the world that the Flash bombed and you've cast your new Superman. All of it happening in the middle of. I feel so bad for James Gunn. He has such an uphill battle. Anyways, not the show.
I mean, we'll see how Jamie does. Like the big thing is Blue Beetle. Like if Blue Beetle just completely creators in August when it comes out, I think
Yeah, August. I think. See, the thing I think about
I don't think
Google
it's gonna do great, but it just needs to like make its money.
I think it's going to do Shazam 1, and because it's on that
Which is
level,
fine.
I think Cobra Kai kids are not going to let that movie fail.
I mean, Cobra Kai is popular. Like,
Exactly, and he is Miguel from Cobra Kai. Like, I don't think.
yeah, he's popular. He's a popular actor.
Yeah, I also think it's far removed from it's a little far removed from the major. This is my thing with the DCEU. This is how I knew the Flash would be very. I didn't think it was gonna make crazy money, but I knew it was gonna. I didn't think it was gonna do well because we have a mutual friend that hates this movie because of Ezra Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Another friend of mine told me he was gonna go see it with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend was like, "No," because Ezra Miller.
Mm-hmm.
People kind of like don't understand how like that in its own right affected the movie. Not even because it's the DC, and then you add on the DCEU things, and you add the Snyder because again, Ezra and that whole universe is from Snyder, and people have a big distaste for that Snyder universe. So all of these things put together, Flash was gonna like I don't know if it was going to fail.
Michael Keaton can only get you so far.
So much, yes, and he did. If you look at the marketing for the Flash and you look at the marketing for how they pushed that movie out, it was Sasha Calle and Michael Keaton and Andy Muschietti. There was hardly. I mean, Ezra was at the LA, literally at the LA premiere. Said a couple of words, and that's it.
They walked in and left. Like
yes,
that was it. Like
said a couple and left. And so you understand, like, if a studio can't push, if the face of the franchise, of the face of the movie can't even be out there, that movie is going to hit like major snafus. And obviously the Snyderverse, those guys were those guys.
I mean, I would not have spent money on that movie. Like the only reason I saw it is because Mo was gracious enough to give me a screener.
And one more thing before we get back to Secret Invasion. I think movies are expensive now, like 20, 30. Like if I'm going to go see an IMAX movie, it can't be mid. It has to be good to great. So if I'm going to spend that money, so if I can get to see it for free, yes, I will see it for free in IMAX. But if I'm going to spend IMAX money, and especially if the word of mouth on the IMAX movie is not good, I'll save my money for the next one. I'll go see Oppenheimer and go see a bomb blow up in my face, because I trust somehow Christopher Nolan to let me sit through a 3.5 hour or 3 hour movie about one guy making a bomb. So there's a lot of metrics to why the Flash failed. If we look at the movie objectively, we both thought it was okay. I maybe I more than you, but I thought I think
it was fine. Like it was mid. Like it was not great, but not like the worst.
A lot of people aren't paying to see mid.
No, I think
if I'm gonna pay $30, I'm not paying to see mid.
Yeah. I think and also I think you're underselling. Also, people get out of the habit of going to the movies.
Right? Exactly. Like, just going to the movies, so it's not just the Flash. A lot of movies aren't making money.
It's not your default date anymore, right? Like,
right.
In a way that it was. But that's the thing what the pandemic did, and like people were hoping that the MCU would like help restart that, and it kind of seemed like it would do with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, which both did very well, but they kind of. Like
Thor happened, and
Thor was, and like Wakanda did well, like not as well as
Wakanda had the hype of the first one, and I think more people wanted to see what they would do with Chadwick and all of that stuff. And so,
I think it's clear that if these superhero movies, but I think it's clear if movies don't bring their A game, like people will just wait for them to be on stream.
Exactly.
Right?
Because, again, that's the other part of it. If I'm gonna wait 45, 50 days, I will wait 45, 50 days to see it on streaming. I don't have to pay for it now because I paid $12.99 for Disney, Hulu, and ESPN. So is it gonna be on ESPN? Is it gonna be on Disney? I bet I'll see it on Disney.
Yeah.
People aren't understanding. Like, I think major studios messed up when they decided to do that. But you have to either commit to streaming or you have to commit to the movies. You can't. I don't think you can do both, because you can say, you know what, our movies aren't going to be on streaming. You either see it in the movie theater or buy buy like the DVDs or whatever,
or they'll be on streaming 2 years later or whatever.
Exactly.
Kind of like what they did with the Spider-Man movie, like the Sony does with the Spider-Man movies.
Actually, they're on Netflix, because Sony.
Right, but No Way Home is not yet.
Right,
Like,
it's not yet.
Homecoming.
Is
I
it
think it's
on?
next year. Like, it's a
Right.
slow rollout of those movies on Disney.
Exactly. So ultimately, you got to commit to one of the other, and I think studios are obviously run by gritty capitalism is the reason. So they want to make all the money right now. Like, you can't. I think we're going to reach a point where even like, think about it. Tom Cruise is dropping Mission Impossible. I'm waiting. I know a bunch of people who have Paramount Plus are waiting to see it on Paramount Plus.
Yeah,
Because
I mean that's my
draw
attitude towards all
of
those
that
movies.
movie. If the draw of that movie is the stunt, not even the stunt, because that's it now.
Mhm.
I think from where he hung on a plane, that's always been what's the next stunt, right? He did the one, I think, was it Rogue Nation, the one where he was underwater. That was he did the underwater stunt. It's that those movies have no substance anymore. They're all about the next stunt, and I don't think that's gonna bring people to the movies. Tom Cruise, like I think Top Gun was just, again, I don't think anyone understands Top Gun.
I mean, it was a sequel to one of the most like iconic 80s movies, so it gets nostalgia on all ends.
Right.
Plus, it's Tom Cruise. Plus, it's like coming out of the pandemic, and
it had the little, the scene.
It's family friendly.
Right.
It's just like one of those things that's just gonna happen sometimes with these.
Right.
These movies,
yeah, we will get those sometimes. Right.
Yeah, like I mean,
movie,
I guess
the movie has to be all around great, and everyone has
not all great, by the way.
Right. I was like, how did Top?
But I get why people wanted to go see it. Like, it's a spectacle, and there's nostalgia around it. But it's a bad movie. But so is the original.
It was literally what was it? Death Star. The Death Star.
It was literally A New Hope. Like, and like, I'm sorry. Every time we talk about this movie, I'm gonna just say this: the fact that the movie spends the whole time being like, "Oh, Tom Cruise has to learn to let go and let fucking Reed Richards or whatever like blow it up and be the hero, and like that's what he's supposed to learn." But that's not what the movie does at the final half, at the final third. It's like, wait, what? The whole arc that you were setting up for Tom Cruise in this movie, you just were like, "No, we get Tom has to be the action hero."
Exactly.
What? Okay, I'm done.
All right, back to Secret Invasion. The scroll invaded our minds for a second.
It did. I want to say about Secret Invasion is like, I think it does what I want these Disney shows to do, which is use like things in the Marvel canon that can't be their own movie and like expand upon them. Like what happened to the Skrulls after Captain Marvel, like, could be a plot point in a future Captain Marvel movie, but it's not going to get a huge amount of development, right? It's going to be like a jumping off point, right? And this, we get a huge amount of development. There's a lot of cool stuff like about the Skrulls in this, right? That I really appreciated. And then like, it also explains like, why was Nick Fury the world's greatest spy? Well, he conveniently had a bunch of green aliens that are shapeshifters hanging out with him, right? That's why he like always knew everything, right? And it recontextualizes like why Nick Fury was always influential, even when he had falling outs with the government at the end of Winter Soldier, and like these times, like that he's always influential. Like it makes much more sense. And I did appreciate their like calling Alexander Pierce the villain of Winter Soldier like mediocre. That also made me like, I was literally laughing my ass off when Fury said that. I was like, they're going there.
No, they went there. I mean, this show is woke. Let me ask you then, what did you think was the strongest scene from this episode?
I think it was either the scene on the train or the scene between like Rhodey and
so both woke scenes.
Both woke scenes, because I think
you just went woke today.
I was woke, but I actually think they were good like character like moments for like Nick Fury. Like I actually think probably the stronger one was the train scene, because he's basically like telling Talos off in like a.
Really thought Earth was about to be a home. You think these people will let you here? Like you have no idea. Okay.
Yeah,
like I'm from here. You're not. We don't even like each other. Oh man, I thought that was really sick. I thought that was done so well. Like, bro, you have no idea what you're. and I think it comes full circle because in the first episode where Talos was telling, when Nick was telling Talos about what's her name, the British the MI6 spy, he's like, yo, her policy scorched earth. Boom. You fast forward to the train scene, and then you fast forward to the close to the end, where she's like, I know who you are, and I don't really care to interrogate you. Like, I'm just gonna do some unsavory things right now. You will tell me what I need to know. I'm going to boil your blood. Get the fuck out of here. Did she scare him with a second syringe?
Yeah, she did.
Like, these are the people you want to come live with? Okay. Like,
well, they're gonna kill. He's gonna genocide them.
So, you think the ones that are gonna be left over are just gonna be like, oh, sure, you can have it. Get out of here. It's never okay.
I'm interested to see two things that they mentioned in this. I'm interested to see if they go anywhere. Apparently, the Skrulls have a colony that their emperor is running. Did you catch that? Like,
yes, they have the one that, who's not, those ones that are not on Earth are just out there somewhere.
Yeah, and then oh my god, what my brain completely farted about this. It was what was the line that it was? I was like, it was this like cool moment. Oh my god, it's gonna come back to me. What?
So who said it?
It was a big question. I think it might have been like Gravik said. I can't remember. But it was about how it was how Skulleros, whatever their home planet is, like fell.
Skrulls,
like
they're
gonna complicate
what
the Skrulls did, or like that it's not just evil Kree persecuting Skrulls, that the Skrulls, had a bit more agency in there. Yeah, even if they were at the end
willing to go to war.
Yeah, in the end they were genocided by the Kree, but that it sort of had origins in a more complicated story. I think it's interesting. Like, I think
I actually do want to see that. I want to see how that's been. I want to see how that spins off in the rest of this episode. But I do agree with you on the one thing you said. I don't know where you would put this story in the bigger MCU, right? This story, like, unless you do
like a Carol look like a piece of shit. It does, like, some of the haters of Carol should really be like what was Carol doing for the
But they don't see that
years she was gone.
They don't care. They just don't like Brie Larson, and they don't like women doing things. I mean, these are the people that are still today complaining about the female warrior scene in Endgame that happened for like 30 seconds. They're still complaining about it. Like, that makes no sense to me.
Because what was Captain Marvel doing? Like, that's like in universe. Like, what was Carol doing if she wasn't helping the Skrulls create their colony?
Hey, drunk.
Oh, that's cool, drunk. Agree to disagree, but I appreciate you.
The interrogation scene was pretty cool. Yeah,
it was. I thought the action scene was also pretty well done.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. We're kind of like, where are we right now? We're still kind of like in the beginning, middle-ish, the beginning part, right? Like, the beginning is what did Carol do? You're right. When they went to when they went off at the end of Captain Marvel, where did they go? What did she do? Did she help? Did she just drop them off and say, I'll be back? Like, what happened?
Well, and Talos is back on Earth 2 years.
Yes.
After
like, where did all of that? Where did all of that? Like, what happened in between? I kind of do want to know what happened there, because so. Captain Marvel is galactic, right? Let's just call her a galactic superhero.
She's a galactic level superhero.
Okay, so she dropped them off on some world and what? Left?
Yeah, but what was she doing? Like,
because between when she dropped them off, it was about 30 years to Endgame. 15?
1995. All right, 1985 is when Captain Marvel happens. In 1987 is when Talos is back on Earth.
Right.
So it's what? Endgame happens sometime in like that 20. It's actually past us in timeline, right? So because it's 20.
I thought Endgame was
5 years after 2018, right? So that's 2023. So it's this year, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because Infinity War happened, and then 5 years plus was Endgame.
2023 minus 1995 is 28 years.
What was she doing for 28 years, bro?
I don't know. Well, I mean, maybe we'll get some sense of that in the Marvels. Maybe we'll get some sense of in this. Like, I have a feeling we're going to get a little bit more of an answer of like what went on with the Skrulls in that 28-year period between
I
this.
think that's what this show is about. But again, that's what I'm saying. Like, where do you drop this show or drop these questions in the greater MCU? Unless you're gonna do more Captain Marvel movies, which I don't think, you can't spend all of Captain Marvel movies doing Skrull stuff, right? So I think you were right when you did say this is the point where, like, this is what you need. This technically, I'm with you. This is what you need from the MCU. Again, which makes this episode and this show, again really wish we dropped 2 episodes, boom. And because I'm kind of sure that you're gonna start getting to the shits next week. Yeah, she didn't. I mean, isn't she like? Yeah, she's cosmic.
Well, she's point, cosmic. Right? That's like
that's the workaround.
Yeah,
and Nick Fury aged, but
he did.
She didn't.
Yeah, I think like.
I think. Want.
Oh, go ahead.
No. It's, last thing. I also kind of want to know what, because I think that's Gravek's biggest kind of beef, right? We were just his lapdogs, and he didn't give us a home for 28 years or blah blah blah. What were they doing? I mean, they were spying, right? But like, what did he use them to do? Did he use them to infiltrate like Hydra? Did he use them to infiltrate like the
but he didn't know about Hydra in Winter Soldier.
See what I'm saying? Like, so you had said he knows, he's in the know for a lot of things, but then there's some things he's in the know of.
Yeah, I mean, Hydra. Who knows? I mean, I think we might get some more of this because there's gotta be some specific instigating moment between Gravik and Nick that causes them to like. Right.
There we go.
It's very slow. Like again, I compared it earlier to like Jack Ryan, the Amazon series, which I think it has about the same speed. If it's anything like that show, it's going to pick up its insane pace at the very end.
Right. I'm hoping 3, 4 we get more exciting stuff. I don't want this to be the Marvel shows where we get to episode 4, episode 5, and how will they end this?
Well, the first episode wasn't the best episode, so
right. So here we go. Right, we've already
breaks the tradition.
Oh my god, that's a canon event. Roy.
Oh my god. Reels is like, and TikTok is like ruined with it's a canon event stuff. Oh man, but it shows that people want to go see that movie though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't care what anyone says. People will see stuff if it's fun, and I also think sometimes that you don't, like with Reels and TikTok, you also don't have to see stuff. It's a cool sound. And once you get an idea of what a canon event is, you're just gonna start saying it and posting.
Oh, as soon as I realize what it is, I'm like, flip. I do not care. This is a meme. Yeah, thanks.
Exactly. But yeah, the canon event.
Don't want that algorithm thinking I care for that content. Let's just be clear.
You get a whole shitload of canon event reels.
Oh, it knows. It's always listening. So the big twist, I guess, because Drunk asked about it, I guess we should talk about is Nick Fury being married to a Skrull.
Right. Then that's
did
why
Nick, I think, mention that he was married in a previous. Did he mention
Winter Soldier? I think he did. If he ever did. Okay. See, but this is why I think it's important. Like, people. Let me ask you then. Do you do a rewatch of the MCU before a new movie? Or did you use?
I will sometimes. It depends. Okay. Like I will I haven't done an MCU like rewatch in like 18 months. I've watched a couple like occasionally depending on my mood. So maybe this summer I will. Okay. Like I usually pick a character and watch all of the movies they appeared in. So like I'll be like Thor. I'm gonna watch all the Thor movies. Maybe I'll pick Nick Fury. I mean that's not that many movies when you think about it.
It's the Iron end Man of a couple 2, movies, right?
And then he doesn't show up again until I guess end of First Avenger, which I don't know if I want to rewatch.
And then I think Winter Soldier. He's pretty much in
Avengers before that. Winter Soldier. He's in Avengers 2, right?
Kind of.
Yeah. And then Homecoming.
Homecoming.
And then is he in Homecoming actually? No, he's not. He's in Far From Home, which is.
Oh yeah, Far From Home, but he's not in Far From Home. It's a Skrull,
right? But
and then he's at the end of Far From Home, though. He's at the end of Far From Home because I think it was the post-credit scene.
And then
that's it. And Infinity War.
Infinity War, and technically Endgame. He's in the last scene of Endgame, the second to last scene or whatever. Endgame. Captain Marvel, of course.
Obviously.
And what else? I
think
feel like
that's
he's in
about
like.
it.
Is there not one other? Because he's not in Civil War,
No.
right? Oh yeah, I guess there's not that many movies that he's in.
I mean, I'm guessing she wanted to look. She didn't want him to age by himself. Like,
Yeah, I mean, maybe joke is like, you know what? I want to be just
sugar
sleeping
baby
with
the
this
entire
20-year-old
time.
equivalent, like, but maybe that's
Sugar-
what they're not.
a sugar baby
Like,
the entire
that's not
time.
what
I mean,
Fury's into. Like,
right.
we don't know. I mean, but
No,
maybe
that's
she.
funny though,
but what-
because that's exactly like the black thing from episode 1. If I was a scroll, why would I be black? But I mean, why would I be an old person if I was a scroll? Like, honestly,
well, she does have the social fiction, right?
right?
That she has to maintain, right?
Yeah,
Like,
if she has to go to the store and has to do like things and
yeah.
then
Like if
yeah.
she and Nick as a married couple have friends, it can't just be
Right.
Nick's getting gradually more beat up and older, and she's still a hot.
I mean, Nick is a
22-year-old.
spy, so well, you had work done, you know, just a little thing under the eye, and
Well, you know, that's not narrow. I mean, technically, in Avengers 2, they solved death. So, like,
oh man, and again, it brings me to the question, right? We so they teased a super scroll, like they teased the ingredients for the super scroll. I think it was Beast.
In this one, instead of the Fantastic Four, it's
right, Groot,
Groot.
Frost, Beast. I didn't see. I don't remember the other names I saw.
Extremis is how it happens,
right?
Which I guess is where the fire will also come from, right? Because in the movies,
right.
Extrema, Extremis shoots fire.
Right.
It was Groot, Frost Giants.
Right. Oh yeah, Frost Giants.
It
I don't remember. I have to go back and look, but it was a couple.
I remember Extremis too. There was a fourth one that I can't.
Right.
So wait, what are the powers of that Super Skrull has? He has Stretch.
Cap. Well, Super.
No, that's Super Skrull has the Fantastic Fours. Super Skrull has the Fantastic Fours powers.
Oh yeah. So,
I don't think he turns
Stretch,
invisible.
Fire. She does force fields though, right?
Right. Maybe it's force fields. So who would have done
then.
force fields?
Wanda.
Oh, it was Call Obsidian. That's the other. Okay, so
Obsidian.
So that might give the like strong, I guess. Like I don't know.
Okay.
What the thing part gives. I don't know.
Because the stretch then would be
Groot.
Then Frost Giant would be what?
Maybe that's the shield. Maybe that's like the equivalent of telekinesis or like I don't know. I mean, do we get Rhodey in the suit in this? Do you think they have Iron Man suit money?
They didn't. Maybe that's where the intro money went.
Maybe
that's where the intro money went. Like the intro money went to.
They're like, okay, we need someone. If we're gonna have a Super Skrull, who's gonna fight the Super Skrull? Like, are we gonna have Rhodey and full on like Iron Man like fighting them? Or I assume what's going to actually happen is that Talos' kid is going to also become a Super Skrull. But
and she will probably defeat. You know, again, I think it's the foreshadowing thing, right? At the beginning when she looks at him as a kid, and you know they look at each other. I think they're kind of like going to splinter when she cried when they shot the other Skrull in the head, or she showed some type of emotion. I think we're getting.
She did rat him out so that. Like, because she
was the one that called about the safe house.
Yes,
it wasn't.
She made it so he was killed.
Yeah.
And so the question is, like, what her exact game is.
No.
You see, I mean,
this is. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do you want to?
No, you go ahead, Mo. You go.
Okay, so this is my take on that, right? And I've been thinking about this for a long time. I'm so happy someone finally asked because we've never talked about this. This is my take. I think people overestimate Marvel post. You know, like with Endgame, is because in that little run up before Endgame, where we got Infinity. You know, if you look back at all those movies. We was just getting banger after banger after banger after banger. There were, but inside, in the middle of those bangers, there was mid movies, and no one wants to think about the fact that we're mid movies before we got to Infinity War and Endgame, which is And I think people just forget that the mid part and think about, oh, Marvel only gave us these movies. But if you think about it, even in the beginning, right, you have Iron Man 1, then you have Iron Man 2, then you have, which is mid, then you have the first Avenger, mid, first Thor, mid, and
I mean,
then
first Avengers at the time was not mid.
no, first Avenger.
Oh, first
Captain
Avenger. Oh
America.
yeah, the movie.
Yeah, Captain
Mid.
America first
Not aged
Avenger.
well either.
Yeah, it has never aged well. And then what was after
First
that?
Thor.
It was first Thor, mid. Even I kind of like
Incredible
that
Hulk.
one.
Let's not forget that.
Incredible Hulk, mid. And then it was one more movie. I think it was Iron Man 2, and then it was Avengers, right?
I think Cap might have been the first one, right? What might have been the one right before Avengers?
Okay, well,
I don't remember the exact.
If you look at that space of movies, right, you have Iron Man 1 and Avengers, which are the two best movies in that. But guess what? Everyone thinks Phase 1 was amazing, right?
Yeah, because it's first.
Yeah, it's first, right? And then because of the two movies that start and end cap it, it's just so you don't really remember the middle of it, right? That's just what Marvel has been. Marvel is a mixed bag of mid to good movies. The good movies are just so good that it makes the mid movies forgettable. Because there's an Avengers 2, right? That
Which
nobody talked about, right? Right? And because before you get to Civil War, there is an Avengers 2. And in the middle of Civil War, you get right after Civil War, you get Black Panther, Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Black Panther, banger, right? Spider-Man,
Captain Marvel, which I know a lot of people don't like, but did make $1 billion.
Right.
So
Black Panther and Spider-Man being Spider-Man, the second biggest comic book character ever, is going to be a banger, right? You can and then the MCU, you can only mess it up but so much. Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, because the first two Spider-Man movies, however you feel about them, decent. Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 1, people liked. Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 are the worst ones, right? And then you leave that alone, and then you hit Black Panther, and at Black Panther, you're like, oh my god, Black Panther has so much going for it. Chadwick, everyone loves Chadwick. Black Panther, the first, major black Marvel superhero, because I think other studio has done. Since Blade, no other studio has done a feature black superhero, right? Of course, he's gonna do gangbusters, and it's gonna be a good movie. Ryan Coogler is gonna do the movie. Michael B. Jordan is gonna be in it. Angela Bassett is gonna be the mother.
It's basically every famous black person that white people could recognize.
Exactly. What's his name was the was the guy with the lazy eye was the so it's so, and then Winston Duke, who came out, like everyone loves Winston Duke now. So you have to understand. And then after that was the first Ant-Man. Good.
First Ant-Man was in Phase 2. But
sorry.
Second Ant-Man.
Second Ant-Man, no one really cares for the second Ant-Man. Like Ant-Man was good, and then it just went, to me, Ant-Man peaked at Ant-Man 1.
I love Ant-Man 2.
Ant-Man 2 is good. I'm just saying in terms of like the general public and the general consensus.
Yeah, general consensus.
It's a mid movie. And people don't like, my thing with Marvel, like my thing with people who are saying, oh, people are tired of Marvel movies, is because this is the law. This is the law, really. This is the law before we get to the next banger, because Guardians was a banger. It's not their best days. Granted, we're not going to see another Guardians movie. I mean, if we look at the Thor library, right? Taika Waititi saved Thor and almost killed it.
Yeah, it maybe killed it.
Right.
I don't think there. I think they'll get Hemsworth back for for big movies, but I don't think
for a big movie. He's not doing another single Thor, because he said unless he can do it out there. So if I can record my scenes out here and you can go do whatever you do back there, that's fine.
I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him the Logan treatment, like if they're like King Thor, like in the future, goodbye to Thor.
Right.
I think he might come back for that.
Someone else, and then have someone else continue to with the mantle. But ultimately, I think we're in the lull phase of the Marvel movies, because every phase of Marvel movies has had the lull phase up to before. And I think the only reason why people aren't used to the lull is because of Phase 3. Was it Phase 3? Infinity War phase was 3, right? Or 4?
3, because 4 was the weird phase of that we just came out of, right? We're in Phase 5 now, right? I don't know. The phases don't make any sense.
The phases don't make any sense. But it's, people aren't used to the fact that after that big, right when we get to Infinity War, right? right before we get to Infinity War, it was all banger, 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 banger,
Mhm.
banger, and that's fine, right? Because if you look at the bangers were first time movies, right? Spider-Man, Black Panther, and that was it, right? What's the other banger in that? And that's Guardians
Guardians 2 was in
1.
there. Guardians 2.
Guardians
We're
2
talking
was
about
in
in
there,
phase 2, the bangers were like Winter Soldier. I mean, if you're talking about money, Iron Man 3, which whether
right?
that's a good movie or not, it did
Not
make a lot of money. People did like it, I guess, enough to make it over $1 billion. Between Civil War and Avengers 2, it was Ant-Man,
exactly.
Guardians 1,
Uh,
Thor
um,
2, which no one wants
Strange,
to talk about. Um, Winter
Doctor
Soldier,
Strange,
Doctor Strange. Yeah.
and
What was
how
the
many of
yeah?
those movies made a billion? And how many of those movies made $1 billion?
Avengers 2 and Iron Man.
Boom. Look at that. And go back to phase 1, the same thing. So it makes sense that Marvel
Mhm.
will have a lull phase. And because you also have to factor in
Excuse me.
COVID, because I mean Shang-Chi
Yes.
wasn't bad. It
No,
wasn't
Shang-Chi was
bad.
no, Shang-Chi is good. It's
Would
as
have hit $1
good
billion
as any
too.
of the
Right.
I mean maybe. You never know with that shit. Like we talked about this many times on the show, right? Like every superhero movie needing to hit $1 billion or it's terrible. It's just
It's kind of overdone. It's kind of
are
it's
we
not as
shareholders also?
right. Right.
Like
We sound like the market people right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
I'm
I mean
about to
because
make
like
a call.
yeah, because like Iron Man 3 is okay. But it's like, why did it make $1 billion? It's definitely not like $1 billion
The
quality
Dark Knight
movie,
Rises made
right?
$1
Like,
billion dollars.
I mean,
Some
look,
people,
you're not gonna see. You're gonna see
no,
me out
you
here
and I
fighting
have a different feeling about that movie, but the general public,
public, right? I
10
think
years from now, like 10 years from that movie, I did not know that movie would have as much hate as it did.
it has both haters and I feel like it's become a movie that is even. I think when it came out, it was kind of like most people were like mid on it. Like I guess would be the way
Mhm.
it's like
Like,
nobody
oh,
was like I
this is a good closer for
sure,
this
whatever, and
series. Right.
like it's fine. Like there's still that Dark Knight, like, and then it's polarized over time. There are people
Mhm.
like you and I who like I adore that movie. Like now we just talked about. I'm gonna go watch it after this. Like I love that movie. I could literally watch it every day of my life and still still get joy out of it. Then there's people who are like, it was the beginning of the end, right? Like it's very polarized in that way.
Right.
Uh, give us a focus.
We did talk about this.
Yeah, I think
Oh man.
I agree with you, Mo. Basically, there's just a few points I want to expand on. I think you really got to
Uh,
emphasize like what COVID did. Like
oh yeah.
COVID was like a huge problem. Like it was, I think it was a big mistake in general without COVID for Marvel to be like, okay, we did Endgame, so we're gonna take a break. Like they released Far From
Mhm.
Home, and then they're like, we're gonna do this big break, which was gonna be a big break
One
until I
whole
think Black
year.
Widow, like was
Yes.
in February from like a summer movie with Far From Home to a February movie. Like that's a
Mhm.
huge gap. And like people got out of the habit of going to Marvel movies. And
Correct.
the thing about Marvel is it's self-reinforcing, right? Like the bad movies get recontextualized by the good movies. So like Infinity
100%.
War and
Mhm.
Endgame made huge Scott Lang fans. And
Oh my
people
god.
went back and looked at the Ant-Man movies and like loved them. And that's not necessarily the case. Like I like both of the original Ant-Man movies like a lot. Like I have so much love for Ant-Man 2. I think it does like a lot of really cool things with like what a superhero movie could be, and I could talk about this forever. But like most up when that movie came out, I was in the minority of people who were like, this movie's cool, right? But when Scott was this breakout character in Endgame, he suddenly becomes like a big deal, right? Like I think, and that's the same thing with like Avengers recontextualized like some very mediocre superhero movies that came out before
Mhm.
that, right? And that's like a huge thing. Also, Marvel, yeah, yeah, everything does feel like extra credit things. Also, when you're on top, like
You gotta keep
everybody is
your
going to
foot.
come for you,
Oh yeah,
right?
100%.
And
100%.
that's true in fan discourse, right? For the first 10 years of Marvel, I think fans were held together by the fact that we were getting these movies and they were at worst mid to really actually fantastic,
And
right? Again,
we were happy
yeah,
because I remember when Thor came out, right? The discourse was kind of crazy for Thor. I remember that when I was, I remember this one so much. Because when Thor came out, I had a friend who was just so happy to see Mjolnir on live action.
Yeah.
They didn't care about how the movie, how everything was presented. But when Thor 2 came out, then people were like a little mellow on it. But like when Thor 1, the first Thor came out, and then you saw him in Avengers, people just went to see Mjolnir in live action and just like Chris Hemsworth looking godly. That was it. People went to go see Thor 2 because of that.
And fandom culture is fundamentally toxic. It has always been toxic. As someone who's been involved in fan debates since I was in high school in the 1990s to present, like they're just fundamentally toxic. And the historian to me, like post 2013, when Gamersgate happened, it fundamentally changed like how we talk about these things and pushed a lot of things into the open, right? And Marvel for a while was immune to it. Like they tried to take Captain Marvel down using it, and it still made $1 billion, right? The same is true with Endgame. But Marvel for a while rose above all these things. But once you become big, once you become Julius Caesar, like all the other senators are going to try to stab you. And and there are good criticisms of Marvel that I agree with, like the fact that it took them until Black Panther to have a black lead,
superhero.
like even a black co-lead, right? No offense to Rhodey, love you to death, but come on, right? Like, and it took until the Captain Marvel movie for there to be a female superhero.
Like you let the worst guy do it before you. Wonder Woman,
right? Black Widow, who is such a hugely popular character now. Like that's the thing that's also weird. Is like there's lots of characters who were not that popular in the comics, like Black Widow. She's a consistent Marvel character, but the number of people who were like Black Widow's my favorite superhero before the movies was like not the biggest number. And that's not the same anymore, right? Like she is one of the most iconic female action heroes. The fact that she didn't get her movie until she was dead is just, again, mind-blowing. There's like lots of good criticism of Marvel and all the bad criticism of Marvel.
There's a good movie in Love and Thunder. So I feel you.
It's I have to rewatch it, actually. You know what? Maybe that's something to do this week.
Yeah.
A final point is also like people another complicated situation is like movie people who love movies hate Marvel.
Yes.
Right? Like
that's the big point
it's doing to
that
the
we
industry,
both
right?
that we both kind of skipped. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the A24 crap. That's
just, oh my God. Yes.
That's my shorthand for this. They hate Marvel, like, and just like they hate like whatever the big franchise is at any time, right?
Yeah.
And Marvel is like so ubiquitous, so everywhere that so you now have like all of these critics. You have the shithead, like misogynist, insane MAGA people. You have people who have legitimate criticisms of Marvel. You have cinephiles, like, and it's just all together on top of these structural factors of a pandemic that has changed people's movie patterns. The fact this is like I keep saying over and over again, there's just less money to be made in our economy right now. Like there just is. The Federal Reserve is trying to keep inflation down. So while more people are employed, the amount of overall money in the economy is way less than it was like 3 years ago. And so there's just less money to be made, particularly when you're talking about making billions of dollars. So all of this combined to create like a storm. And Marvel has also made some bad creative choices. So like all of this together is just this like thing.
Like I don't think they're not immune to the creative choices that they've made. They're not immune to that. And I think that's the most important thing. But again, if you look at the history of Marvel, inside of every phase that exists, there's the good and the bad. And then the really good, the thing about the good movies in every phase of Marvel is they make you forget about the not so great movies. I always go back to phase 1 having Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man 2 inside of that universe, and then also the Incredible Hulk, all of that inside of that hodgepodge. And anything anyone ever talks about from that phase is the first Iron Man and the first Avengers movie. Like isn't that insane to you? Like to think about, and I think
do talk about that stuff, but it's recontextualized, right?
Right.
Like Winter Soldier made a lot more people think more fondly of
the first Avenger. Yes.
Right. And like Thor 3 made a lot of people think more fondly of Thor as a character. right?
And
Like
Loki
and
and all of
well,
them,
Loki's
right?
kind of the golden child of the MCU, right?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
he
Loki
and
also
he and
was
Robert
blessed
Downey
that
Jr.
Loki was blessed that he appeared in as the main villain for yeah. And by the time you get to Infinity War, then you find out that the reason Loki did what he did, and so everything was you. Even though you didn't know where it was going, you knew it was going somewhere. I think one of the biggest parts, or one of the biggest things now, is that again we're back to the point of we don't know where it's going. And I think that's what's killing people. By the time we got to phase 2.5, because you in because Guardians was 2, right? You had seen Guardians was 2, right? You had seen
Guardians
the
was phase two,
second.
yeah.
You had seen the second. That was the third Infinity Stone, right? Because you saw the first one, the Tesseract,
Yeah,
and
I
you
mean, you didn't
saw
know that thing was
you
the
didn't know
reality
right.
stone or whatever, but
But
yeah.
you saw Thanos was in that movie, and I think we kind of people that watched the people that read the comics kind of started getting an idea, and comic YouTube was blowing up,
Mhm.
and so all these things are happening. The Renaissance is happening. That was the middle of the Renaissance. So yes, with COVID, things are kind of mellowed. It's just everyone
Mhm.
kind of got to with the break that happened, which I agree with you 100%. That should have never happened. Black Widow should have not been a movie in phase 4. That's a phase two movie, if
No, it was
anything.
the movie that should have come out like in between Infinity War and
Yeah,
Endgame.
right. So I just feel like that's again creative missteps. Those things kind of hurt. But again, I think we are also in the phase of we don't know what's going on. We don't know how, and God, like the thing going on with the actor. How is that going to affect
Hmm.
like because I'm excited for Kang Dynasty. Um, I'm excited. I'm excited. You know what? You know what? That makes sense. Think Disney Plus at that time, and think this is the first show we get in the middle. You know, because again, I think one of the things we enjoy about this show is like this story right here is getting we're stretching out a story that would have been in 2 movies or into its own 6-episode arc. Black Widow would have been a nice 6-episode arc, and then boom, if Endgame. But ultimately, I don't think I think people. I don't want to say people are broke, and if I'm gonna spend money,
Hmm.
it has to be quality, and maybe the quality is dipped a little bit because every movie that's come out this year, unless you're Guardians and James Cameron, you
Well,
have to be
technically last year.
yeah, you have to be somewhat. You have to be something. You have to be something to make crazy. I don't.
I
I
thought he
mean,
was good at Ant Man though.
I still
Like
am because he was great in that man. He was
he
great.
was,
He was. I would think that was the brightest spot of that movie.
I
He
think a
was.
big mistake was not doing an Avengers movie. Like
Yes.
or an
Yes.
Avengers style movie. Like it could have just
Right.
been like a Civil War,
Yes.
like in this phase. Where like I mean, I know there's like crossover ones where Doctor Strange was in, the Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man.
Conveniently, that's one of the most successful ones,
Mhm.
right? Like, but like something like a Civil War level, it didn't have to be. It's like something that like I think actually Thunderbolts, if it had come out, like because it looks like Thunderbolts is like gonna be kind of a Civil War level like crossover
With
movie where you get
Dominican, I think.
a
Right.
bunch of characters from different movies together, right? Like
Right.
if they had done like that, I think people would be more satisfied because these Avengers movies, which bring like a lot of characters that
I
you like,
think
people
that's
like
what
in different
keep.
movies together, yeah,
Mhm.
keeps people
That's
together.
what keep people engaged. If we're being honest, because there's so many people that call Civil War Avengers 2.5.
It
And I
was
think
Avengers 3. Let's be honest, like it was really what Avengers 2 should have been, but you couldn't like. The thing,
this is also kind of an interesting topic that I don't think if we got into this one, I think we'd do another hour. Um, but if we think about it, it's only been what 6 multiverse movies? Not
has
a
there even
lot.
been that many?
No,
So
I'm
two.
okay.
So there's been three confirmed, like three hardcore multiverse movies, like that are actually about the multiverse. Endgame does not count. There are no multiverses really in Endgame.
Right.
All right. There's No Way Home,
Correct.
Doctor Strange,
Hmm.
and kind of Ant
Flash.
Man. I'm talking about Marvel. Oh yeah.
Oh, Marvel.
Yeah. Marvel. There's 3, right?
Mhm.
That explicitly draw on the
Deal
multiverse,
with
right?
deal with different universes. I wouldn't even call Ant-Man a
And plus Loki.
multiverse. Yes,
Plus Loki.
I wouldn't call Ant-Man a multiverse yet because I mean, granted, we do go into a different universe, but
It's
we
kind
do
of a
have-
different universe.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
because Kang like kind of admits that there's a multiverse, like at the
So
end. I don't know.
Loki,
Yeah, it's
yeah. So I don't. Again, I think I think in the general audience is like, oh, another multiverse. I think so. If we add the 3 Marvel ones, right? The 3 solid Marvel ones, and then Loki, and then you have Spider-Verse 1 and 2, or Spider-Verse 1 and 2, and then Flash. So there's only really 6 multiverse, like 6 solid. I don't think,
and
or
nobody's complained about the Spider-Man movies,
right,
both the live
and
action and the
yeah. If you do, what's the other one? Everything, everywhere.
yeah. No one is complaining about that movie.
Yeah,
Either. Like
exactly. No one is exhausted. Like I think people are not happy with not good multiverse movies, right? Or
and we're getting
multiverse movies that make you
Deadpool
overthink.
3
Huh?
is coming. Deadpool 3 is coming, which is
Right. It's kind
admitted
of
is
like
going to be a multiverse movie. So.
yeah. So I mean, you have to be good. I think ultimately you have to be good. You have to make good movies. You have to make good content. And people will go see it. If people will want to spend money. I think, if we've not just COVID, we also have to deal with inflation. We also have to deal with, the toxic fandom, because again, I think that is the second biggest part, or the third biggest thing is the toxic fandom, whether you are, or or Marvel. And I think the other thing that we haven't talked about is that somehow fans of nerd content have become bullies, bro. Like we've kind of become the people we didn't necessarily like.
Mo, can I be honest?
Go ahead.
Fans have always been this way. Like, come on.
Like, I think we also didn't have like a bigger voice. Now that we do, it's kind of like, wow, you kind of see it on a bigger scale.
Comics/nerd fandom was never ready for prime time. This is like I've been saying since it broke into like the mainstream in the middle of the Obama administration.
Deadpool 3 is multiverse drunk.
So yeah, I mean, they haven't said exactly what it is, but they said it's a direct continuation of like how Deadpool from Fox gets into the MCU. So that by definition is
it's gonna be weird.
And it has a Wolverine in it, so
and I think it's gonna be good, right?
I mean, if you like the Deadpool movies, I'm sure it's gonna be this. If you like Deadpool, I'm sure it's gonna be just the same. As someone who doesn't like Deadpool and doesn't like Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, like I'm not gonna see it.
I don't like Ryan Reynolds. Period. I think again, that would be another hour conversation. But you finish your thought. Yeah,
I think my point is like we were never ready for prime time. Right, like as someone who like worked in comic book stores from the early 2000s, like in the early 2000s, like and grew up in comic book stores, like we were never ready for prime time. Like misogyny, racism, homophobia, all of this stuff, like just ran rampant. Bullying, like you ever like I have been bullied by comic book store clerks, and I'll be honest with you, I've been a comic book store clerk bullying somebody for having bad taste. like that's just what it is. That's
bad taste arguments are so fun. And
like.
Well, they're not.
You've seen someone bully someone because they like an issue of Incredible Hulk. Like that's the shit that fans like produce. Like, and it's not just necessarily the masculine spaces, because anyone who spent time in more feminine coded spaces, like about Twilight or Harry Potter or what have you, you also know that those fandoms are also
the YA
toxic.
Spaces were yeah. You know what's funny? If you think
the cultural patterns of fandom are toxic,
right.
and
go ahead. If you think the She-Hulk discourse for the show was like, nah, you should see the actual comic book She-Hulk discourse. That is the one, because I was like, you know what? I think the She-Hulk show discourse was mid. It was mid because I've heard the She-Hulk discourse is just very gross in the comic book space, and I don't like it, and I've never liked it. And I thought the show did a good way of like kind of writing around it. Like She-Hulk and Wonder Woman are the male fans for She-Hulk and Wonder Woman are like honestly top 2 of the worst people that I know. Like,
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man. But anyways, Secret Invasion. I liked episode 2. I'm on the side again. If they had dropped both episodes, we would be looking at the first week of the show would have been much better, much
I think so.
stronger. I think this episode ends on a strong note. We were just talking about how Khaleesi look, I got
No,
Gaia,
I mean,
how
Gaia.
Gaia snitched, right? And she didn't. Do you think when she snitched, did you think she knew that Gravik would kill the dude, or did you think she did that for Gravik to kill the dude?
I have no idea. Like, I had them of her and Gravik are the characters I have the most questions for because her, like, the last time we saw Skrulls, she and her dad were besties, having like
Correct.
fun adventures with Spider-Man. So something had to like happen, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, Drug, this is just what we do on the show. Like,
No, I hope this is
like-
not the first time because this is just the longest detour. But this is what we do.
well, we've done way longer than detours. Like, some of the Star Wars episodes that we.
The Star Wars episodes get.
But anyway, like, I'm interested to see like how she got from her point in Far From Home to being a terrorist, and also her mom got murdered by Gravik. Like, both Gravik murdered her mom and is cool with her hanging around. Like, that's a whole thing that like I'm interested to see what's going on with this. So
does she know? I mean, because
she knows. Talos told her.
Talos told. I mean, I'm saying up to the point where Talos told her, did she know? So she didn't know. So now she knows. But she still kind of sold her dad out.
She did. But I mean, the question is, did she know that she was selling her dad out?
Right. Or is this some long con?
I think Gravik is long conning her, is what my
okay.
That's what I think it is. Like, I think he knows that she's like wishy-washy and like, so keep your enemies closer, right? Like, it's useful to him to have like Talos's daughter like right on hand, right?
Correct.
Because if stuff really goes to town with Talos, like, you could just like threaten to execute his daughter and he'll do what you want, right? So
I can see that.
I mean, again, the guy blew up like 2,000 people in Moscow, so
and then blame the Americans, and then it's so funny.
Too real,
right? Oh man.
At least, like, hey, remember how was rumored that Falcon Winter Soldier was supposed to have the like everybody got the COVID plot line that they extracted.
Right.
They didn't change it for this show though.
They didn't
like suddenly make it like Warsaw or something. Like, just have everybody ad-libbed that it's like, this is Warsaw rather than
Moscow. It's not. I mean, wait, didn't Mission Impossible blow up the Kremlin?
I'm sure. Oh my god.
Yeah, the one with what's her name? Crap. Yes, the one they did blow up the Kremlin in Mission Impossible. The one with Jeremy Renner in it. Yes. The one that almost.
I honestly don't remember them blowing up the Kremlin, but I don't remember a lot about the Mission Impossible movies.
You just remember the stunts?
The stunts, yeah. Like the time he like jumps into the like water tube.
Listen,
he's like swimming around in it. Like,
I don't care for those movies anymore. The first one was so great, though.
The first one is great. It's still great, by the way. You should rewatch it. It's.
I think I will. Are you going to see Indiana Jones?
Well, tonight? I've been struggling with a head cold, and like it's like kind of like borderline COVID symptoms. So I've been like self-isolating. So I probably won't go to be safe.
Okay.
But I might see it. My mother is on me about going to see it with my parents, so I don't know.
Oh, you should.
Big Indiana Jones people. But
please see it and let me know because I'm gonna wait for Disney Plus. But no, I thought that was also interesting, Drunk, that you mentioned it. He did. I mean, because again, I think this is this might be the naive. How do you say that word? This might show how naive. Yeah, that word. This might show how naive Talos was, right? When he goes, "Oh, I thought humans and Skrulls might live together." A human being in this instance will tell you, "You can leave. Nothing will happen to you." And as soon as you walk out, bam. But here, she leaves and nothing happened to her. She even got to call. Right. She even got to call Talos to set up a meeting. He just wants to talk about his daughter. That's crazy. I am interested in seeing what the next 2 episodes do. I think here's my thing, right? I think next
All right.
episode might go back a little boring, and then episode 4, I think it's gonna have that thing that what's the name of that?
Andor did.
Andor did, right? But instead of like a 3, I've obviously can't do it in 3 episodes. It's gonna do it every 2 episodes.
Maybe. I mean, they're setting up some big things, right? Like meeting
Yes.
between like Talos and Gravik. That will be cool scene.
Mhm.
We're gonna get more stuff about Nick Fury being married to a Skrull. That's cool. Like I think there's
Right.
cool things coming up in these episodes, and of course, like at least one major character is going to be revealed to be a Skrull. So,
And is Maria Hill really dead?
yes. But I think who are Skrull? Like you cannot do Secret Invasion, the storyline, the
Mhm.
racist Islamophobic Bendis
Oh
storyline.
my god, yeah, that one. Thank God.
Without at least like the whole point of it is that some people you know are Skrulls.
Mhm.
So like, and the problem is the only pre-established Marvel characters that are here are Sam Jackson, a guy who's already a Skrull, and Rhodey. So
Mm.
well, it needs to just be in. Well, I mean, the question
I
is
think-
how much does it need to wrap up? Like it depends on like according to Sam Jackson, but of course it's promotion. You can't have the Marvels without this movie. So something that leads into the Marvels is going to
Right.
happen here. So
Are we getting a Secret War?
yeah,
Or is
that's but well, not Secret War like the Bendis Secret War. We're getting the Hickman Secret War.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Never mind.
We're not getting like Bendis's attempt at Secret Wars, which was
Okay.
but first appearance of Maria Hill.
Correct.
So-
Correct.
Oh man,
All right.
odds.
We've been talking for a while. Thank you, Drunk, thank you, Drunk, for the question, because honestly, the question really kind of said things. You know what's funny? Like I said, I've been waiting for so long to have that conversation. And Drunk, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Roy, for making the time.
Always a pleasure.
Next week should be fun. I think next week you'd have seen in Indiana. By next week you'd have probably seen Indiana Jones. That comes out this weekend.
This weekend, I think, yes.
Yeah,
Saturday.
so by next week's episode, you'd have probably seen it, so you could tell me a little bit about it at the time. Let me know if it's gonna beat the Flash. I think at this point, anything is gonna.
I mean, who knows? Like, did Indiana Jones 4 make money? I honestly don't know.
Crystal Skull? Nah.
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Thank you, Drunk, for being here. We will catch you next week. Wait, you saw the one with Shia LaBeouf?
Oh yeah, I saw it in theaters in Napa Valley, California. My family was on vacation.
Wow. You know what I think? I do think it did make money because Shia LaBeouf. He was coming right off Transformers, I think 1 or 2, I'm not sure. It's Indiana Jones. It's his son. Oh yeah, of course it made money. It probably made opening week money.
I honestly don't remember. It's a billion years ago.
We're like, this is bad. But anyways, thank you. We will catch you next week for the next episode. Peace.